Welcome to Hardabasht. Since my return last week, my aim was to deliver heart-wrenching news with a touch of dark humor. But what transpired on that fateful Tuesday, October 17th, 2023, leaves no room for levity. The topics I had prepared to discuss are each more heart-trending than the last. And though I could have spun them with sarcasm, 500 lives lost in a single strike is a weighty burden to bear. Eyewitness on the ground claims it was an airstrike, while Israel alleges it was a rogue missile launched by Jihad. But let's put emotions aside and delve into the circumstantial evidence. The Israeli military spokesperson's claim about what happened if the fighter jet caused the destruction is peculiar. While it might hold water if we were talking about an empty field, the images we witnessed tell a different story. Building crumbles into rubble, not creators. So, what was the target? A hospital. And yes, Israel has targeted hospitals before, revealing a lack of moral restraint. As life has shown us, when one transgression goes unchecked, it's a slippery slope. I hate to jump to conclusions, but Israel's heart seems unaltered. Furthermore, Israel made threats against hospitals in the north of Gaza before. Now you might say, Hardabasht, all this is circumstantial evidence, insufficient to charge a war crime. While I don't have the smoking gun or the perpetrator in the act, the fingerprints are undeniable. Take a look at this video captured moments before the hospital strike. Did you catch it? This brief flash is constant with a missile launch from a fighter jet. For safety reasons, missile launches from fighter jets occur in two stages. The fighter jet drops the missile briefly before ignition. The resemblance is striking. A fairy fireball appears as the missile takes off, visible for less than a second, especially at night. Not only is it unmistakable, but it certainly isn't mistaken for a lightning flash. Now about the missiles. All the missiles used by the resistance in the area are categorized as Katyusha missiles, basic and gravity-fed. Even with aerodynamic enhancement, they struggle to break the sound barrier. The unique sound of these missiles before impact distinguishes them from others. This is what Hamas missiles sound like before impact. And this is the sound of the missile that struck the hospital. If you ask me, it's like a supersonic engine, and it's accelerating directly toward its target for a precise hit. Now let's talk about the impact. This is what a lightweight missile's explosion looks like. Compare it to the impact of the questioned missiles. It's massive, reminiscent of a certain image from 2 decades ago. Like this one. To achieve such devastation, you would need a missile weighing a few hundreds of kilograms, at least. So regarding the missiles that struck the baptism hospital in Gaza, causing 500 deaths and hundreds of injuries, we can conclude the missiles was launched from the sky, likely by a fighter jet. It exceeded the sound barrier, ruling out free fall. It hit its target directly, leaving no room for doubt. The explosion was so colossal that it needed a missile weighing several hundreds of kilograms. I may not possess irrefutable evidence that the missile was launched from an Israeli-owned fighter jet, but it's abundantly clear that something launched it from a fighter jet under the watchful eye, and I dare say the blessing of the Israeli government. Frankly, I struggle to imagine an impartial jury that wouldn't find the Israeli government guilty of a war crime for atrocity on October 17th. Described as a direct missile strike on a protected facility by the Geneva Convention, a hospital that resulted in over 500 civilians' deaths. And let's face it, this isn't the first time the Israeli government has committed war crimes during this conflict. While Israel leveled claims without evidence against the other side, their own atrocities are well documented. These are just some of the breaches of the Geneva Convention by the so-called Israeli militaries. Intensive bombing of residential areas with unguided bombs, striking residential buildings without warning, causing mass casualties, targeting first responders and mobilized first responders vehicles with guided missiles, hitting heavily populated residential areas with guided missiles, targeting civilians fleeing conflict zones with guided missiles, striking places of worship, including mosques and churches, with guided missiles, hitting schools, including UN-owned buildings, with guided missiles, targeting supposed safe zones in conflict areas like press building and war zone shelters, attacking the press with bombing and guided missiles. This is just the tip of the iceberg. What transpired in Gaza is nothing short of genocide, a result of people driven by frustration over their failure to reach their intended targets. Their unjustified anger unleashed on unarmed, helpless citizens. To date, around 4,000 people have been killed by Israeli airstrikes, with a third of them being innocent children. I can hardly justify the use of terms like government and military for individuals who consider us humanoid animals. In reality, they are the one acting like animals. Even animal would feel shame being compared to them. That's why from this point onward, and in consideration of content guidelines, I'll use alternative terms. Mobs ensued and uniformed cartels. My apology for mobs and cartels, who are in my eye are saints compared to those targeting children under authority just to inflict pain and funded by powerful figures who unfortunately hold leadership positions. Anyway, that's it for now. I hope you get enlightened by this video, and if so, Please share the video everywhere you can. Spread the news. Open your eyes and be an eye opener. Until then, I will rest here and let my sheep rest for another video. And then see y'all. Peace.